I'm just going to talk for a couple of minutes about the gallery. My name is Anne Collins. I'm on the board of the OCAC, the Oceanside Community Arts Council. And I did notice that the president is sitting over in the overflow section, because thank you all for coming. It's a fabulous turnout, and thanks for coming on a really typical Canadian night. The gallery that you're sitting in was established in 2021, late 2021, as a joint venture by the Bayside and the MAC, or OCAC. And we thank the Bayside hugely for giving us this space. It's just a superb venue for all the brilliant local artists we have. Susan told us about her collection. Normally we have 2 or 3 artists in this space, but we decided to showcase Susan's pieces because they are just such a fabulous collection. And we felt Susan deserves this because she has been such a contributor to the arts community here with the Island Arts magazine, her classes, her mentoring of many, many young aspiring artists. I'm not going to talk anymore. I think Susan can do her own introduction. She's going to explain to you how this beautiful collection of Canadiana evolved. And congratulations, Susan. Thank you for being our first solo artist.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. This is pretty exciting. It's my first show of 2024. And like Anne says, the first solo show in this beautiful gallery. And I had an interview with Czech News yesterday about this show. So my whole week I've been just kind of on nerves. I haven't had much sleep this week. Tonight, we're here not only to celebrate the arts, but also Canada. Canadiana is a visual celebration of Canada from coast to coast. I'd like to thank the Oceanside Arts Council, the Macmillan Art Gallery, the Bayside Oceanfront Resort, and just to say a little bit about the Bayside, the last couple of years I've been working with them, they have really stepped up in supporting the arts in Oceanside. They've got the gallery, they're putting originals and prints in the rooms. I've recently become the curator to put more paintings in their public spaces. So I really thank the Bayside for all that they're doing for the arts. Now, last time I had an artist talk in Parksville. It was at the Macmillan Gallery, and it was Friday the 13th, March of 2020. I had about 6 people in the audience because everybody else was at Costco getting toilet paper. So I think we're off to a better start tonight. In 2006, I moved from Saskatchewan to Vancouver Island. The west coast of Canada has always had the highest concentration of artists in all of Canada. And I thought, well, if not now, when? I'm going to immerse myself in the arts. So off I went. And I've always said, if not now, when? When am I going to do this? So coming to the island, I thought, well, now what am I going to do? With a background in graphic arts, I decided to try to create an art magazine to showcase all the artists out here. So the first Island Arts magazine was launched in 2008. Now, the magazine, I'm starting the next issue. We're into our 17th year and issue 68. So, hard to believe. Thank you. And it used to be a print publication, but since COVID, we made the decision to go digital because during COVID, nothing was open and nobody was touching anything. And we either had to go, close the business or go digital. So we went digital. And what a great thing to do because we are now reaching global audience. So thank you, Jeff, for convincing me of that. Yeah, I call myself an impressionistic artist. My paintings are an impression of a scene, or it's my interpretation. So I go around and take photographs, and then when I go wanting to paint something, I look through hundreds of photos trying to figure out what I'm going to paint. When people say to me, Susan, how long did that painting take you? My general response is 20 years plus a couple of weeks, because I've been doing this gig for over 20 years. So. And this is all, accumulation of what I've learned during my time as an artist so far. I'm still learning. So Canadiana, the idea behind this series. During COVID, as you know, we all had lots of time to talk with your spouses or your partners. And one of the things that kept coming up with Jeff was that Jeff's my husband, was he had not seen some of his cousins in 30 and 40 years. So I said, you know what? If we don't make a plan to do this, we're not going to do it. So we started to make a plan that when COVID was over, we were going to go. And one of his cousins lives in Bathurst, New Brunswick. He has a summer home there, so that would be the furthest east we'd be going. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do that, maybe I should have a plan. And my plan was to do a painting of Canadian landscapes. So let's see, next one. So that's how that all came about, just over a discussion over COVID. So you could say this was a positive thing that happened during COVID. Canadiana is my most ambitious series so far. The planning process took years, 3 years of planning. I spent about 18 months painting, and I was going through boxes of canvas and paints, and Opus was like my best friend, ordering stuff online. There was lots of times I thought, Susan, you must be crazy. Why did you take this on? But I'm a little bit stubborn, and I take after my mother. She's a little bit stubborn, and I think, well, if I start a project, I got to see it through. So I'm pretty happy with this series and that I actually went through it. I was absolutely thrilled to debut Canadiana in Weyburn, Saskatchewan in June of 2023. I had a show in Weyburn, Saskatchewan in 2016, I think it was Prairie Whispers. And growing up there, it felt like I had gone full circle now with my career. I was able to showcase this one. And we had, I'm just going to read this. We had a special visit from Michael Jones, the CEO of Saskatchewan Arts Council, came out to see the show. So that was pretty special for me. And having my family there was really nice too. So that's where the series was there for 3 months, and then it came back here to BC. Now, since some people have already asked me if I have been to all these places, no, I haven't. Some of the places we were not going to get to on this trip was Newfoundland, for one, and the territories. So I had to source out images from people, mostly on the internet, who were, I'd go to like the one of the Yukon with the moose. That's from the Yukon Tourism. They let me use that image. Another one was Northwest Territories, Nunavut. A friend of mine from high school lives in Newfoundland. So I asked him to send me images of icebergs. So I was able to get those ones that I needed because I wanted to have every province and every territory in Canada in this selection. So the series was called Canadiana, and we called Jeff's tour the Cousin Tour. And once we were confident that it was safe to travel to the East Coast, in September of 2022, we were off the island. But first, we got a hat made so the cousins could sign his hat for him.
It's covered.
Yeah. Well, we thought of getting T-shirts made, but I thought, no, we're doing carry-on, so we don't want to drag a whole bunch of T-shirts along. Let's get a hat. Yeah, that worked. So we flew to Toronto with only a couple of hiccups with WestJet. And from there, we were mostly traveling via rail. At that time, masks were absolutely mandatory. And if you were not wearing your mask, they would throw you off at the next stop. So one of our first stops was Kingston, and where Jeff saw his cousin Donna and Barry. These are people I've never met before. And we had a really nice visit with them. And one of the things I wanted to do was to go back to the Thousand Islands. Um, During grade 11 and 12, my sister was living in Kingston, Ontario. So I spent the summer with her, and we went to the Thousand Islands. And coming off of the prairies, I thought it was just magical there. And so I'm glad to say that it sort of had the same effect on me this time around. And that's that painting right over there, the second one, the blue one. It's called, I call it 1,000 Memories. So the only difference on this one was that we were able to enjoy a cool beer, which we did, which I couldn't do before because I was only 16. Now, since we were not stopping in Quebec, other than to catch the train to Montreal, I had to try to grab photos from the train as we were going around corners. And one thing I kept noticing was that there always seemed to be little red boats or canoes or something in the water. So this is one particular stretch that I kept seeing from the window. I took pictures of it. And this painting, I call it From the Train. And that's the one in the far corner there. It has a whole different look than the others because I wanted it to look like it was in motion. So it's like little brushstrokes to give you the idea of movement. So that represents Montreal, or Quebec, sorry. Our next stop with Via Rail was Bathurst, New Brunswick, where we met up with Jeff's cousins, Cy and Lilia. Even though Jeff said he would recognize them, we got off the train and he walks right by them. And I'm like, is that your cousin? Yeah, I think so. Anyway, on our last evening there was a nor'wester coming in. And it actually woke me up in the middle of the night. It was loud, it was windy, it was blowing salt around. And we were staying in the accommodations here. We had to go maybe to that table to the house. Well, I almost got blown over. I'm going into the house. Lilia says to me, yeah, it's a wee bit windy out there today. It's like, a wee bit, oh my God. It didn't seem to bother them at all. So that's the painting beside the other one with that, and the clouds really were that beautiful orange and the waves were crashing. And it was quite amazing as we sat there and ate our last dinner with them of lobster and potato salad. Now, I couldn't wait to visit Prince Edward Island, known for the red rocks. And it certainly did not disappoint. We Cy and Lilia from Bathurst. We went with them on a 2-day trip over to PEI. And one of the things I noticed as soon as I came off the road and down the ways was the beautiful red rocks. And that's that one right beside the flag over there. And I captured several photographs, and I love that little peekaboo view there. Now, a couple weeks later, Hurricane Fiona came by and wiped that all away. So I feel very fortunate that I was able to get that image, paint it, and maybe there's a little piece of history there. But as one old timer on the news said, the ocean gives and it takes it away, and it'll just give it back somewhere else. So they didn't seem too concerned about that. So that's one of my favorites. We also stopped at Lunenburg, Nova Scotia to see the Blue Nose, which is right here. Because of the expanse of it, I didn't think I could actually take a whole picture of this vessel without going up on the hill and having all these tourists in the photos. So I went around to the stern, and I saw this reflection in the water of the flag, and I thought, that's the shot. So that's what I wanted, and I thought, well, every picture needs a bird, right? So I stuck that little guy in there. And in the meantime, Jeff's trying to get on the boat, and he finds out that the captain's name is Captain Phil. So he says, Captain Phil, permission to come aboard? And Captain Phil says, permission denied. So it's like, it had nothing to do with us. They were varnishing that day. Nobody could go on the boat. So that was kind of fun. And then, of course, you could not go to Nova Scotia without hitting Peggy's Cove, which is right back there behind Steve. Yeah, experiencing that gave me goosebumps. every time I look at that picture, it's just like, wow. I did my first painting in Peggy's Cove was a horizontal one. My aunt quickly scooped that one up, and it went to St. Albert, Alberta. But I wanted to have a Peggy's Cove in this collection, so I did another vertical of it. So, flying back to the West Coast, I thought about what a great country we call home. From coast to coast, each province is unique on its own, but tied together with a sense of quiet dignity, which truly I think is the Canadian way. Um, we traveled 18,000 kilometers to capture images for this series. We traveled by plane, train, automobile, and boat. Sounds like a John Candy movie, right? Plane, train, automobile. Yeah. We visited Jeff's family, who he hadn't seen in many years and I had never met. And we shared meals, laughs, and swapped stories. And now my family has grown even larger. So I hope Canadiana makes you proud to be Canadian. I know it certainly has opened up my eyes to a lot of things. And I'm really pleased with presenting it at the Bayside here. The show is going to be here till March, the end of March. So all of these paintings are for sale. So let's get some red dots on them. And this is our last night in Halifax, toasting a wonderful trip with a couple of margaritas. There, that's it.
Set me on fire, you set me on fire. With the love in your eyes, I can see the sunrise coming alive.